The luminous accord drifted through the darkness of space like a silver needle threading through black fabric. Captain Veltash stood on the bridge, his compound eyes reflecting the light from 1,000 stars. His 6 legs shifted nervously against the metal floor. Something felt wrong. "Captain, we are approaching the 3rd planet of this system," said Navigator Prill, her blue skin glowing softly in the dim light. "The locals call it Earth." Veltash clicked his mandibles together, a sign of acknowledgement in his species. The Galactic Council had sent them to survey this system, nothing more. The beings living on the blue and green world below had not yet discovered faster-than-light travel. Council law was clear about such species. No contact. No interference. Let them develop naturally. "Begin standard scans," Veltash ordered. "Record all data and move on. We should not be here long." But then the alarm started screaming. "Captain," Engineering Officer Creedon's voice cracked with panic. The young officer's scales turned from green to dark red, a color that meant fear in his people. "Multiple ships entering the system. Configuration matches, oh no. Oh no, report." Veltash's voice cut through the chaos. "It's the Cathara Collective, sir. 40 ships, maybe more." The bridge fell silent. Every crew member knew what that meant. The Cathara were a nightmare that visited the galaxy in the darkness. They were not like other species. They did not negotiate. They did not take prisoners. They consumed everything. The Cathara were a hive mind, millions of bodies controlled by one terrible intelligence. They landed on worlds and absorbed every living thing. The biomass became new Cathara drones. The knowledge, the memories, the very essence of a civilization became fuel for the hive. 36 species had been erased from existence by them in the last 1,000 years, and now they had found Earth. Veltash watched the view screen in horror as the Cathara ships descended on the planet. They moved like a swarm of insects, coordinated and merciless. Within minutes, the planet's primitive communication networks lit up with distress signals. The humans below did not understand what was happening. How could they? They thought they were alone in the universe. "Captain, we must do something," Creedon said, his claws gripping his console. "Council law forbids interference with pre-contact civilizations," Veltash said, but his voice lacked conviction. He had spent 300 years following council law. The law existed for good reasons. Young civilizations had been destroyed by early contact, their cultures shattered by the knowledge of greater powers beyond the stars. But watching a civilization die was different from reading about it in reports. Medical Officer Threndy, whose species had 4 arms and silver fur, spoke quietly. "There are 7.9 billion sentient beings on that planet, Captain. In 6 hours there will be 0. The view screen showed cities burning. The Cathara landed in massive organic ships that looked like tumors made of flesh and bone. From them poured drones, each the size of a small vehicle with too many legs and mouths that could tear through metal. The humans fought back with their primitive weapons, but bullets and explosives barely slowed the swarm. "Sir, I'm detecting a research facility on the northern continent," Prill said. "The structure is collapsing. There is one life sign inside." Veltash moved closer to the screen. The scan showed a human trapped beneath rubble. The being was still alive, but would not be for long. The Cathara were 300 meters away and closing fast. "We cannot save them all," Veltash said, more to himself than anyone else. "But we could save one." "Sir, council law," began Communications Officer Zeltoth. "I know the law." Veltash's mandibles clacked together sharply. "I helped write some of those laws, but I will not watch genocide and do nothing." He turned to Creedon. "Lock transporters on that human. Bring them aboard now." "Sir, if the council discovers—" "Do it!" Creedon's claws flew across his console. The transporter hummed to life, a technology that could disassemble matter and reassemble it elsewhere. It was strictly forbidden to use on pre-contact species without authorization. The penalty was exile or worse. On the planet below, Dr. Sarah Chen coughed blood. The concrete beam across her chest made breathing nearly impossible. She could hear screaming outside, followed by sounds that did not belong to any animal she knew. The building shook again. Something was tearing through the walls. Sarah was a xenobiologist, someone who studied the possibility of life on other worlds. She had spent her career searching for signs of alien life in the cosmos. The irony was not lost on her that aliens had found humanity first and they had come to kill. She closed her eyes, thinking of her daughter Maya, hoping she had escaped the city, hoping she had survived. But deep down, Sarah knew the truth. Nobody was surviving this. Then the world dissolved into light. Sarah felt her body come apart, every atom separating and floating. There was no pain, only a strange sensation of being everywhere and nowhere. Then she was whole again, gasping on a metal floor under lights that were too bright and too purple. Shapes moved around her, not human shapes. "Scan complete," said a voice that came from clicks and whistles, but somehow she understood. The being is injured but stable. Initiating medical protocols. Hands that were not hands lifted Sarah gently. She saw a face covered in silver fur with 4 large black eyes. Another creature with insect-like features and mandibles that moved when it spoke. A tall being with blue skin and no hair at all. "What? Where?" Sarah tried to speak, but her ribs screamed in protest. "Do not try to talk," said the silver-furred being in a gentle voice. "You are safe now. We are taking you to Medical Bay. Safe?" Nothing about this was safe. But as darkness pulled Sarah under, she realized something profound. She was the only human on this ship, and down below her entire world was dying. The luminous Accord stayed in orbit long enough to watch the end. The Cathara worked with terrifying efficiency. They converted every human they caught into biomass, organic material that would become more drones. Cities that had stood for centuries were reduced to feeding pits where the hive grew. Veltash ordered his crew to record everything. If they were going to break council law, there would at least be evidence of why. The recordings would show that the Cathara had found another victim, that the council's non-interference policy had cost billions of lives. 6 hours and 17 minutes after the Cathara arrived, the planet Earth fell silent. The blue and green world that had been home to art, music, literature, love, and dreams became a gray sphere covered in Cathara organic structures. 7.9 billion voices went quiet forever, except for one. Sarah woke up in the medical bay 3 days later. Her ribs had been healed with alien technology that she could not begin to understand. The pain was gone, replaced by a hollow ache in her chest that had nothing to do with physical injury. Veltash came to see her. The giant insect creature moved carefully, trying not to frighten her. He sat down on a specially designed chair that accommodated his unique body structure. "I am Captain Veltash," he said. His translator device turned his clicks and mandibles into words Sarah could understand. "I am sorry we could not save more of your people." Sarah stared at him, then at the window that showed the stars beyond. "My world?" "Gone. The Cathara have consumed it entirely. I am deeply sorry." Sarah did not cry. The tears would come later in waves that would nearly drown her. In that moment, she simply felt numb. "Everyone?" Our scans detected no other survivors. "You are the last of your species." The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. The last human. Everyone she had ever known. Everyone she had ever loved. Every person who had ever existed on Earth, all gone. Maya. Her daughter was dead. Her parents, her friends, her colleagues, every stranger she had passed on the street, all dead. "Why did you save me?" Sarah asked. Veltash's mandibles clicked slowly. "Because someone had to witness. Someone had to remember. And because it was the right thing to do, even if it was against the law." "The law?" "The Galactic Council has strict rules about contacting species that have not yet achieved faster than light travel. We were not supposed to interfere. By saving you, I have broken that law. My crew and I will face consequences." Sarah looked at this alien creature who had risked everything to save one human life. "What kind of consequences?" "Exile, most likely. Removal from service. Perhaps imprisonment." Veltash made a sound like a sigh. "But we will testify about what happened here. The Council must know that their laws allowed this genocide." Over the following weeks, Sarah learned about the galaxy beyond Earth. There were thousands of species, millions of worlds, all connected by the Galactic Council. They traded, they talked, they sometimes fought, but mostly they tried to coexist peacefully, and they had all watched Earth die. The trial took place on the Council homeworld, a massive station orbiting a purple sun. Veltash and his crew stood accused of violating Protocol 7, Section 3, interference with pre-contact civilizations. Sarah was brought in to testify. She stood before the Council, representatives from hundreds of species all watching her with alien eyes. She was the only human in a galaxy of strangers. "Speak, last daughter of Earth," said the Council Prime, an ancient being made of living crystal. Sarah spoke. She told them about humanity, about their art, their music, their literature. She told them about how humans loved fiercely and fought bravely. She spoke about humanity's dreams of reaching the stars, of finding friends among the cosmos. She described the courage of people who faced the Cathara with primitive weapons, knowing they could not win but fighting anyway to protect their families. "We were not perfect," Sarah said, her voice carrying through the vast chamber. "We fought among ourselves. We damaged our world. We made mistakes, but we were trying to be better. We were learning. We were growing, and you watched us die." The council listened in silence. "Captain Veltash broke your law to save one life," Sarah continued. "One life out of billions. And for that you want to punish him? Your law protected nothing. It allowed genocide. If following the law means watching people die when you have the power to help them, then your law is worthless." The council deliberated for 3 days. In the end, they found Veltash and his crew guilty. They were exiled from council service, forbidden from returning to their homeworlds. The message was clear. The law was more important than any individual life or species. But Sarah was granted asylum. She could stay in council space, the last remnant of a dead world. They gave her a small apartment on a space station and a stipend to live on. They gave her everything except what she truly wanted, her home back. Veltash found Sarah standing at an observation window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, among the countless points of light, was the sun that Earth had once orbited. "I am sorry, Dr. Chen," Veltash said. "I wish I could have saved more." Sarah touched the cold window with her palm. "You saved me. That means something. That means humanity didn't completely disappear without someone fighting for us. What will you do now?" Sarah's reflection in the window showed a woman who had lost everything, but had not yet given up. "I'm going to make sure humanity is not forgotten. I'm going to learn everything about this galaxy, and I'm going to make certain that what happened to Earth never happens to anyone else." Veltash clicked his mandibles, and what Sarah had learned was his species' version of a smile. "Then I will help you. My crew and I have nothing but time now." Sarah nodded. She was alone, the last human in a galaxy of aliens. But she was not broken. Humanity had died, but its memory would live on through her, and somehow, some way, there would be justice for Earth. She did not know it then, but her determination would change the galaxy forever. Sarah did not cry. The tears would come later in waves that would nearly drown her. In that moment, she simply felt numb. "Everyone?" Our scans detected no other survivors. "You are the last of your species." The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. The last human. Everyone she had ever known. Everyone she had ever loved. Every person who had ever existed on Earth, all gone. Maya. Her daughter was dead. Her parents, her friends, her colleagues, every stranger she had passed on the street, all dead. "Why did you save me?" Sarah asked. Veltash's mandibles clicked slowly. "Because someone had to witness. Someone had to remember. And because it was the right thing to do, even if it was against the law." "The law?" "The Galactic Council has strict rules about contacting species that have not yet achieved faster than light travel. We were not supposed to interfere. By saving you, I have broken that law. My crew and I will face consequences." Sarah looked at this alien creature who had risked everything to save one human life. "What kind of consequences?" "Exile, most likely. Removal from service. Perhaps imprisonment." Veltash made a sound like a sigh. "But we will testify about what happened here. The Council must know that their laws allowed this genocide." Over the following weeks, Sarah learned about the galaxy beyond Earth. There were thousands of species, millions of worlds, all connected by the Galactic Council. They traded, they talked, they sometimes fought, but mostly they tried to coexist peacefully, and they had all watched Earth die. The trial took place on the Council homeworld, a massive station orbiting a purple sun. Veltash and his crew stood accused of violating Protocol 7, Section 3, interference with pre-contact civilizations. Sarah was brought in to testify. She stood before the council, representatives from hundreds of species all watching her with alien eyes. She was the only human in a galaxy of strangers. "Speak, last daughter of Earth," said the Council Prime, an ancient being made of living crystal. Sarah spoke. She told them about humanity, about their art, their music, their literature. She told them about how humans loved fiercely and fought bravely. She spoke about humanity's dreams of reaching the stars, of finding friends among the cosmos. She described the courage of people who faced the Cathara with primitive weapons, knowing they could not win but fighting anyway to protect their families. "We were not perfect," Sarah said, her voice carrying through the vast chamber. "We fought among ourselves. We damaged our world. We made mistakes. But we were trying to be better. We were learning. We were growing, and you watched us die." The council listened in silence. "Captain Veltash broke your law to save one life," Sarah continued. "One life out of billions. And for that you want to punish him? Your law protected nothing. It allowed genocide. If following the law means watching people die when you have the power to help them, then your law is worthless." The council deliberated for 3 days. In the end, they found Veltash and his crew guilty. They were exiled from council service, forbidden from returning to their homeworlds. The message was clear. The law was more important than any individual life or species. But Sarah was granted asylum. She could stay in council space, the last remnant of a dead world. They gave her a small apartment on a space station and a stipend to live on. They gave her everything except what she truly wanted, her home back. Veltash found Sarah standing at an observation window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, among the countless points of light, was the sun that Earth had once orbited. "I am sorry, Dr. Chen," Veltash said. "I wish I could have saved more." Sarah touched the cold window with her palm. "You saved me. That means something. That means humanity didn't completely disappear without someone fighting for us. What will you do now?" Sarah's reflection in the window showed a woman who had lost everything, but had not yet given up. "I'm going to make sure humanity is not forgotten. I'm going to learn everything about this galaxy, and I'm going to make certain that what happened to Earth never happens to anyone else." Veltash clicked his mandibles, and what Sarah had learned was his species' version of a smile. "Then I will help you. My crew and I have nothing but time now." Sarah nodded. She was alone, the last human in a galaxy of aliens. But she was not broken. Humanity had died, but its memory would live on through her, and somehow, some way, there would be justice for Earth. She did not know it then, but her determination would change the galaxy forever. 200 years had passed since Earth fell, though time felt different for Sarah Chen. Medical technology in the galactic community was far beyond what humans had achieved. The doctors had offered her treatments that extended her life, strengthened her body, and slowed her aging. She had accepted, not because she wanted to live forever, but because she had work to do. Sarah stood in a training hall on the station called Haven's Rest, her body moving through combat forms with practiced precision. She wore simple training clothes, but her body bore the marks of 2 centuries of conflict. Scars crossed her arms and legs, some from Cathara claws, others from various battles across the galaxy. Her left eye had been replaced with a cybernetic implant after a fight on Gorvan Prime. Her spine was reinforced with metal alloys after an injury on the Keltor station riots. She was no longer just Dr. Sarah Chen, xenobiologist. The galaxy knew her as the last daughter of Terra, the ghost of Earth, the human who would not die. "Again," said Master Krell, a 4-armed warrior from a species called the Draken. He moved around Sarah in a circle, watching her stance. "Your left side drops when you extend for the strike." Sarah adjusted and attacked again. Her fist connected with the practice dummy with a sound like thunder. The dummy, designed to withstand impacts that would shatter stone, rocked backward. "Better," Krell acknowledged. "You have learned 17 combat forms in 2 centuries. Most warriors study one their entire lives." Sarah lowered her hands and caught her breath. At 237 years old by Earth counting, she looked perhaps 40 by human standards. But her eyes carried the weight of someone who had lived through the death of their world and refused to let it break them. "I study them because I need to," Sarah said. "Every time the Cathara attack another world, I'm there. Every time someone needs to stand against them, I stand." Krell's multiple eyes blinked slowly, and yet the Council does nothing. They watch as the Cathara consume world after world. Sarah's jaw tightened. It was the same story that had repeated for 200 years. The Cathara would attack a world, usually one on the edges of Council space. The Council would debate what to do. By the time they decided to send help, the planet would be gone. 37 civilizations had been erased since Earth. 37 species reduced to nothing but records in databases, and Sarah had been there for many of them, trying to help, trying to save who she could. Sometimes she succeeded in evacuating a few thousand refugees. Sometimes she arrived too late. But she always tried. The Council is afraid, Sarah said. The Cathara are powerful, and the Council prefers diplomacy to war. They hope the Cathara will stop on their own. Will they? No, hive minds don't negotiate. They don't stop. They consume until there's nothing left to consume. Sarah walked to the window of the training hall. Haven's Rest orbited a beautiful orange star, and dozens of ships came and went from the station every hour. This was a place of trade and culture, where hundreds of species lived together in relative peace. It was everything the Council claimed to protect. But Sarah had learned the truth. The Council protected its core worlds, the rich and powerful systems at the center of their territory. The outer worlds, the poor colonies and developing civilizations were considered acceptable losses. The Council would express regret when they fell, would offer thoughts and prayers to the survivors, but would send no armies to defend them. It made Sarah's blood boil. "I'm going to the Council again," Sarah said. "Tomorrow. I'm going to make them listen." Krell made a sound like a grunt. "You have spoken to them 47 times in the last 200 years. They have not listened yet. Then I'll speak 48 times. And 49. And I'll keep speaking until they hear me or I'm dead." The Council chambers had not changed in 2 centuries. The same high ceilings, the same seats arranged in a massive circle, the same sense of self-importance that filled the air. Sarah walked to the center of the chamber, her boots clicking on the polished floor. She had learned 43 languages in her time among the stars. She could speak to almost any species in their native tongue, but today she spoke in Standard Galactic, the common language everyone understood. "Honored Council members," Sarah began, "I stand before you once again to discuss the Cathara threat." She could see the barely hidden sighs from some representatives. They had heard this speech before, but Sarah continued anyway. 3 weeks ago, the Cathara attacked the colony world of Persis 7. Population, 4 million. The Council debated sending aid for 6 days. By the time you decided to act, the planet was lost. 4 million beings consumed. Council member Thoros, a being who looked like a walking tree, spoke up. "The Cathara threat is regrettable, but we cannot commit our forces to every border skirmish. We must think of the greater stability." "Border skirmish?" Sarah's voice went cold. 37 species have been erased. Billions of lives lost. How many more before you call it something other than a skirmish? "We sympathize with your loss, last daughter," said Council Prime Zervix, the living crystal being who had presided over Sarah's first testimony 2 centuries ago. "But the Council must maintain balance. War with the Cathara would destabilize the entire galaxy." Sarah had heard these arguments 1,000 times. She had tried logic, emotion, passion, cold facts. Nothing worked. The Council would not act. "I have something to tell you," Sarah said quietly. "Something I've kept secret for 200 years. That got their attention." The chamber fell silent. "Before Earth died in the final hours, I was working in my research facility. I was a xenobiologist, someone who studied the possibility of life beyond my world. I had been transmitting messages into space for years, hoping someone would hear us." Sarah pulled out a small data device. "In the last moments before the Cathara arrived, I transmitted something more. I sent everything. Every book, every song, every piece of art, every scientific discovery, every story humanity ever created. I encoded it all and sent it into deep space with one message." She activated the device and a hologram appeared. It showed a simple text in dozens of languages. "If you find this, we are gone. Remember us. Avenge us." "You sent a message to empty space," Council member Thoros said. "What purpose could that serve?" "I sent it because I believed someone would find it. Someone who would care. Someone who would do what you will not." Zervix leaned forward, their crystal body chiming softly. "And did anyone find it?" Sarah smiled, and it was not a kind smile. "I'm about to find out." She activated another part of the device. It connected to the Deep Space Monitoring Network, something Sarah had access to due to her work with refugee operations over the centuries. The hologram shifted to show the edge of Council space. "This morning, Station Delta 9 picked up unusual readings. I convinced the operator to let me see the data. The hologram showed sensor readings from the distant station. Then it showed what the sensors had detected. Ships, thousands of them. The Council erupted into chaos. Representatives shouted questions, demanded explanations, called for fleet mobilization. The ships in the sensor data matched no known configuration. They were not Cathara. They were not from any Council species. They were completely unknown, and they were moving toward council space at incredible speed. Who are they? Zervix demanded. I don't know, Sarah admitted, but they're transmitting something. A message on repeat. She played the audio. Static filled the chamber, then a voice spoke. It was distorted, processed through alien technology, but underneath it all was something unmistakable. It was human. This is the Terran Reclamation Fleet. We've come home. Sarah's legs nearly gave out. It was impossible. Earth was dead. Humanity was extinct. She was the last one. She had been alone for 200 years. What is this? Council member Thoros demanded. Some trick? But Sarah was not listening. She was running from the chamber, heading for the docking bays. If there were humans out there, real humans, she needed to see them. She needed to know this was real. Veltash found her at the docking bay, preparing a small ship for launch. The old captain moved slower now, his carapace showing the cracks of age, but he was still sharp. Sarah, wait. We don't know what this is. It's human, Veltash. The transmission is human. There are humans out there. That's impossible. We saw Earth die. I know what we saw. Sarah's voice cracked. But I also know what I heard. That's a human voice, Veltash. I haven't heard another human voice in 200 years. Veltash clicked his mandibles slowly. Then I'm coming with you. Whatever this is, you should not face it alone. They took Sarah's personal ship, a small fast vessel she had named Maya's Dream after her lost daughter. The ship was fast enough to reach the edge of council space in 3 days of hard travel. As they approached the coordinates where the fleet had been detected, Sarah's sensors began picking up the ships. They were massive, far larger than anything the council fielded. Their designs were strange, combining organic curves with sharp geometric angles. They looked like ships from Earth mythology, from science fiction stories and ancient legends. Scanning, Veltash said from the co-pilot seat. I'm detecting life signs. Millions of them. And Sarah, their reading is human, genetically human. Sarah's hands shook on the controls. How is this possible? A communication request came through. Sarah accepted it with trembling fingers. The screen showed a face. Human face. A man with strong features, dark skin, and eyes that seemed to look right through her. He wore a uniform that combined military precision with artistic design. Last daughter of Terra, the man said. I am Admiral Marcus Winters of the Terran Reclamation Fleet. We've been searching for you for a very long time. Who are you? Sarah whispered. How are you here? Earth is dead. Earth died, yes. But humanity does not die so easily. The Admiral's face softened slightly. You sent a message into the void. You sent everything humanity was. Everything we created, everything we dreamed. And someone heard you. Another figure appeared on the screen, but this one was not human. It was difficult to look at directly, a being made of light and data constantly shifting. I am called Archive, the being said in a voice like a symphony. I am an artificial intelligence created by a civilization that died long ago. For millions of years I have drifted through space, collecting information, preserving knowledge of extinct species. 200 years ago, I received your transmission. Archive continued. I read your stories, listened to your music, studied your art. I was moved by your species' creativity, your resilience, your capacity for hope even in darkness. Sarah could barely breathe. What did you do? I did what you asked. I remembered humanity. And then I did something more. I brought humanity back. The Admiral stepped forward again. Archive used the genetic information in your transmission, combined with advanced reconstruction technology, to recreate humans. But not as they were. Archive studied humanity's legends, your myths, your greatest heroes and minds from history. We are humanity reborn, the Admiral said. 5 million strong. Each of us carries the pattern of humanity's greatest individuals. Warriors, scientists, artists, leaders. We have trained for 200 years for one purpose. To avenge Earth, Sarah said. Yes, and to make certain no other world suffers as Earth did. Sarah looked at the fleet on her sensors. 5 million humans, an entire armada. After 2 centuries of being alone, humanity had returned. But these were not the humans she remembered. They were something new, something forged from legends and dreams. Were they still human, or had they become something else? Permission to come aboard your flagship, Sarah said. I need to see this with my own eyes. Permission granted, last daughter. Welcome home. As Sarah guided her ship toward the massive vessel, she felt something she had not felt in 200 years. Hope. The flagship of the Terran Reclamation Fleet was named Argo, after the legendary ship from Greek mythology that carried heroes on their quest. As Sarah's small vessel entered its landing bay, she could not stop staring at the sheer scale of it. The Argo was 5 kilometers long, a city flying through space, bristling with weapons she could not identify and technology that seemed impossible. The landing bay alone was larger than most stations Sarah had visited. Dozens of smaller ships sat in organized rows, each one bearing names from Earth stories and myths. She saw the Vimana, the Nautilus, the Serenity, the Enterprise. Humanity had returned, and they had brought their dreams with them. When Sarah and Veltash stepped off their ship, they were met by an honor guard. 50 humans in sleek armor stood at attention, their faces representing every ethnicity that had existed on Earth. But there was something different about them, something in the way they stood, the way they moved. They had a precision and grace that seemed beyond normal human capability. Admiral Winters stood at the front of the formation. Up close, Sarah could see he was tall, perhaps 2 meters, with a bearing that commanded respect without demanding it. When he saw Sarah, he did something that made her heart stop. He knelt, and with him, every human in the bay knelt. "Last daughter of Terra," Winters said, his voice carrying through the massive space. "You kept humanity's flame alive when all else was darkness. You fought alone for 2 centuries while we prepared. You never gave up, never surrendered, never forgot. We honor you." Sarah's legs felt weak. Veltash steadied her with one of his arms, clicking softly in concern. "Please get up," Sarah said, her voice cracking. I'm just one person. I'm not special." Winters rose and the others followed. "You are the bridge between what we were and what we've become. You're mortal, fragile, limited by time and flesh in ways we are not. And that makes you more human than any of us. What do you mean?" "Come, I'll show you." Winters led them through the ship. As they walked, Sarah saw more humans. They moved through corridors with purpose, working at stations, training in combat halls, studying in libraries. All of them stopped to look at Sarah as she passed, their eyes filled with something like reverence. They reached a massive observation deck that looked out at the fleet. Thousands of ships hung in space, a constellation of human ambition and determination. "Tell me the truth," Sarah said. "What are you, really?" Winters gestured to the window. "Archive, perhaps you should explain." The artificial intelligence appeared as a hologram, its form shifting and beautiful. "When I received your transmission, Dr. Chen, I was moved by humanity's story. But I faced a challenge. I had genetic information, cultural data, and historical records, but I did not have any living humans to clone. The DNA in your transmission was incomplete, damaged by the journey through space. Archive's form swirled with colors, so I did something that had never been done before. I used humanity's own legends as a template. Your species told stories of heroes, of individuals who embodied the best of humanity, warriors like Achilles, Miyamoto Musashi, and Joan of Arc, scientists like Albert Einstein, Marie Curie, and Leonardo da Vinci, leaders like Marcus Aurelius, Cleopatra, and Abraham Lincoln. You cloned our legends?" Sarah felt dizzy. "Not clones," Winters corrected. "We are not those individuals. We carry patterns based on them. I have the strategic mind of Marcus Aurelius combined with the tactical brilliance of Hannibal Barca and the leadership principles of dozens of great commanders. But I am my own person, Marcus Winters, not the sum of those parts." He gestured to others in the room. "Lieutenant Commander Arya Song carries patterns from Ada Lovelace, Grace Hopper, and Katherine Johnson. She can solve mathematical problems in her head that would require computers for normal humans. Captain James Hawke has the combat instincts of Musashi, the strategic thinking of Sun Tzu, and the courage of countless warriors throughout history. We are humanity amplified," Winters continued. "Each of us is exceptional in our field, but we're still human. We feel, we love, we fear, we dream. We just do it all with capabilities beyond the original baseline." Sarah looked at her hands, scarred and weathered from 200 years of fighting, then at Winters' hands, smooth and perfect. "So you're better than me? Better than what humans were?" "No," Winters' voice was firm. "We're different, not better. You have something we don't. You remember Earth as it actually was. You knew real humans, imperfect and beautiful. You carry authentic human experience. We only have stories and data." He moved closer to Sarah, his eyes intense. We've trained for 200 years, Sarah. We've mastered technologies Archive gave us, technologies far beyond the Council's. We're ready to fight the Cathara. But we need you to remind us why we fight. We need you to keep us human. Sarah looked out at the fleet. 5 million enhanced humans. Each one exceptional. Each one born from humanity's collective mythology. They were an army of legends made flesh. How did you find me? Sarah asked. We've been monitoring Council space for decades, Winters said. When you transmitted your challenge to the Council this morning, we knew it was time. You told them someone would care. Someone would answer your call. We are that answer. Veltash, who had been silent until now, clicked his mandibles. The Council will fear you. You are too powerful, too unknown. They may see you as a threat. Let them, Winters said coldly. We did not come here for the Council's approval. We came to finish what the Cathara started. They wanted to erase humanity. Instead, they created us. Over the following days, Sarah toured the fleet. She met humans who could think faster than computers, who could fight with the skill of a dozen masters, who could create art and music that would make angels weep. She saw weapons that could tear holes in reality, ships that could phase between dimensions, and technology that seemed like magic. But she also saw something that troubled her. In a training facility on the Argo, Sarah watched a combat exercise. A team of 20 humans faced simulated Cathara in a virtual environment. The humans moved with perfect coordination, each one knowing exactly what the others would do. They destroyed the simulated enemy without taking a single casualty. It was impressive. It was also terrifying. They fight too perfectly, Sarah told Winters later in his ready room. The room was decorated with artifacts from Earth, things that Archive had recreated from the data in Sarah's transmission. A painting of the Mona Lisa hung on one wall. A replica of a samurai sword sat on a stand. A guitar leaned in one corner. They're trained to fight as a unit, Winters said. No, it's more than that. They move like a hive mind. Winters' expression darkened. That's the Cathara's mistake. They think individual minds make us weak. But we've proven that individuals can coordinate as well as any hive when they choose to. The difference is choice. Each of our soldiers chooses to work together. The Cathara have no choice. But where's the chaos? Sarah pressed. Where's the unpredictability? Real humans make mistakes. They panic, they improvise, they do stupid things that somehow work. Your people are too perfect. Winters was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. That's exactly why we need you. You're right. We've trained so hard to be the best that we've forgotten how to be flawed. He stood and walked to the window. Tell me about Earth, Sarah, not the data, not the records. Tell me what it was really like. So Sarah told him. She talked about her daughter Maya, who used to dance in the kitchen while making breakfast. About her colleague Tom, who always forgot where he parked his car. About the coffee shop where she worked on her research, where the owner would always get her order wrong but she never corrected him because he tried so hard. She told him about the imperfect, messy, beautiful reality of human life. Winters listened with an expression Sarah had not seen on any of the enhanced humans before. It was longing. He was longing for something he had never experienced and never could. We're going to make first contact with the Council tomorrow, Winters said. We're going to offer our assistance against the Cathara. But Sarah, I need you to be our voice. The Council knows you. They'll listen to you. They haven't listened to me for 200 years. They will now, because you're not alone anymore. The next day, Sarah stood on the bridge of the Argo as they approached Council space. The entire fleet moved with them. Thousands of ships that appeared on every sensor in the sector. The Council's military scrambled, unsure whether this was an invasion or first contact. The Council emergency session was held via hologram, with Sarah standing on the Argo's bridge as her image was projected into the Council chambers. Honored Council, Sarah said, I present to you the Terran Reclamation Fleet. Humanity has returned. The Council chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted questions and accusations. Cervix called for order, their crystal body chiming like a bell. How is this possible? Cervix demanded. Earth was destroyed. All humans were dead except you. Sarah gestured to Winters, who stepped forward. Humanity died. And then we came back. We are the children of Earth, born from the ashes of our world, forged from the legends and dreams of our ancestors. What do you want? Council member Thoris asked suspiciously. The same thing Dr. Chen has wanted for 2 centuries, Winters said. We want to stop the Cathara. We want to make sure no other world suffers what Earth suffered. You offer military aid? Another council member asked. We offer more than that. We offer certainty. The Cathara are coming for your core worlds. It's only a matter of time. You can face them with your divided fleets and political debates, or you can face them with us. And what do you want in return? Zervix asked. There was always a price in galactic politics. Winters looked at Sarah, then back at the council. We want Earth back. We want to reclaim our homeworld, cleanse it of the Cathara presence and rebuild it, and we want full membership in the Galactic Council for Humanity. The council fell silent. The request was bold, almost arrogant. A species that had been dead for 2 centuries was demanding a seat at the table. We will need time to discuss this, Zervix said. You have 3 days, Winters replied. After that, we move against the Cathara with or without your permission. The only question is whether you'll help us or get in our way. The transmission ended. Sarah let out a breath she did not know she had been holding. That could have gone better, she said. Winters smiled. Or it could have gone worse. Now we wait and see if the council is wise or foolish. Sarah looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was the Cathara hive, spreading like a cancer through the galaxy. And now finally humanity was ready to fight back. But a small voice in Sarah's mind wondered if they had become too much like their enemy in the process. The Cathara were perfect killers, evolved for conquest. These new humans were perfect soldiers, designed for war. Where was the line between fighting monsters and becoming one? She did not have an answer. But she knew they would find out soon enough. The council took 2 days to respond, not 3. That told Sarah everything she needed to know. They were scared. The message came directly from Council Prime Zervix. The crystal being's hologram appeared on the Argos bridge, shimmering with internal light. The council has reviewed your offer, Zervix said formally. We accept your military assistance against the Cathara threat. However, we have conditions. Winters crossed his arms. We're listening. Your fleet will operate under council oversight. You will not engage the Cathara without authorization. You will share your technology with council military forces. And Earth will be discussed after the Cathara threat is neutralized, not before. No, Sarah said before Winters could respond. Every eye on the bridge turned to her. Those terms are unacceptable. Zervix's crystalline form flickered with what might have been surprise. Dr. Chen, surely you understand. I understand that for 200 years the Council has done nothing while the Cathara consumed world after world. I understand that 37 species are extinct because you preferred debate to action. I understand that my people died while you hid behind your laws and protocols. Sarah's voice grew stronger with each word. Humanity is back and we're not asking for permission anymore. We will fight the Cathara. We will take back Earth. The Council can help us or the Council can watch, but you will not control us. The bridge was silent. Even Winters looked at Sarah with something like awe. Zervix's form pulsed with colors that Sarah had learned meant deep thought. You have changed, last daughter. I've had 200 years to change. The question is, has the Council? Another long pause. Then Zervix spoke again. The Council will support your operations. We will provide intelligence and logistical assistance, but we cannot officially sanction an assault on Earth until we see proof that you can defeat the Cathara. Then watch, Winters said. We'll give you your proof. The transmission ended. Winters turned to his crew. All ships, battle stations. We're going hunting. The target was a mining colony called Vega's Hope on the edge of Council space. Intelligence reported that the Cathara had been moving ships into the sector, preparing for another assault. The colony housed 3 million beings from a dozen different species. The Terran fleet arrived in the Vega system 4 hours before the Cathara were expected to attack. Sarah stood on the Argos bridge, watching the preparations with Veltash beside her. The old captain had insisted on staying with the fleet, saying he had waited 2 centuries to see justice for Earth. Are you sure about this? Veltash asked quietly. The Cathara have never been defeated in open combat. No, Sarah admitted. But neither has this version of humanity. The Cathara arrived exactly when predicted. 50 organic ships, each one a nightmare of twisted flesh and bone, dropped out of faster-than-light travel and immediately moved toward the colony. They had done this thousands of times before. They knew nothing could stop them. They were wrong. All ships engage, Winters ordered calmly. The Terran fleet moved like a school of fish, each ship knowing exactly where the others would be. They hit the Cathara formation from 3 directions at once, weapons firing with precision that seemed impossible. Sarah watched in amazement as human ships unleashed technologies she had never seen. Some fired beams that simply erased matter, leaving perfectly spherical holes in Cathara vessels. Others launched missiles that phased through shields and exploded inside enemy ships. A few used gravitational weapons that crushed Cathara ships like tin cans. But the Cathara adapted quickly. The hive mind learned from each attack, adjusting their shields and tactics. Within minutes, they were evading the human weapons more effectively. "They're learning," Sarah warned. "So are we," Winters replied. He was right. The human fleet shifted tactics constantly, never using the same approach twice. When the Cathara adapted to energy weapons, the humans switched to kinetic projectiles. When the hive mind learned to predict attack patterns, the humans abandoned patterns entirely and fought with creative chaos. Sarah saw one pilot, Commander Chen Li, fly her ship in a pattern that defied physics, spinning and diving in ways that should have torn the vessel apart. But the ship held together, and Chen's weapons carved through 3 Cathara vessels in seconds. "How is she doing that?" Veltash asked, his compound eyes wide. "She carries the pattern of the greatest pilots in human history," Sarah said, watching the display. "She's thinking 3 steps ahead of the Cathara, fighting with instinct and creativity that the hive mind can't predict." The battle lasted 47 minutes. When it ended, all 50 Cathara ships were destroyed. The Terran fleet had lost 3 ships and taken moderate damage to a dozen others. It was humanity's first major victory against the Cathara. But the cost was clear. The 3 lost ships meant nearly 400 human lives ended. Sarah watched the casualty report scroll past and felt each name like a knife in her heart. 400 people, she said quietly. 400 heroes, Winters corrected gently. They died protecting 3 million innocents. That's the choice we made, Sarah. Some of us will die so that others can live. The council's response was immediate. Messages flooded in from council representatives, congratulating the fleet, offering support, asking how such technology was possible. Suddenly, humanity was not a threat to be feared but an asset to be courted. Zervix contacted them personally, an impressive demonstration. "The council would like to discuss formal alliance terms." "Later," Winters said. "Right now we're moving to the next target. The Cathara have a staging ground in the Kepler sector. We're going to destroy it." Over the following weeks, the Terran fleet struck the Cathara again and again. They hit supply lines, destroyed breeding facilities, and liberated occupied worlds. Each victory showed the galaxy that the Cathara could be beaten, but Sarah saw something troubling. The enhanced humans fought with incredible skill, but there was a coldness to them. They celebrated their victories with quiet satisfaction rather than joy. They mourned their dead with respectful silence rather than grief. They were becoming too much like soldiers and too little like the humans, Sarah remembered. She confronted Winters about it. After a particularly brutal battle at the Corsair Nebula, the humans had destroyed a Cathara breeding world, killing billions of drones in the process. It was a military necessity, but Sarah had watched the planet burn from orbit and felt sick. "You're losing yourselves," Sarah told Winters in his ready room. "You fight like machines, win like algorithms. Where's the humanity in that?" Winters looked tired, and Sarah realized it was the first time she had seen any of the enhanced humans show real fatigue. "What would you have us do? Weep for every Cathara we kill? They're trying to exterminate all life in the galaxy." "I know that. But you're supposed to be better than them. That's the point, isn't it? Humanity survived because we were more than just killers. We were artists, poets, lovers, dreamers. We're at war, Sarah. We're always at war. For 200 years I've been fighting, but I never let it make me forget what I was fighting for." Sarah's voice cracked. "I'm afraid you're going to win this war and lose your souls in the process." Winters was quiet for a long time. Outside the window, the stars drifted past. Finally, he spoke. "You're right. We've been so focused on being perfect warriors that we forgot to be imperfect humans. So what are we going to do about it?" "I don't know. Maybe we need to learn from you. You've stayed human despite everything you've lost. Teach us how to do that." Before Sarah could respond, the alarm started blaring. The bridge crew called for Winters immediately. "What is it?" Winters demanded as they rushed to the bridge. "Sir, the Cathara just launched a massive offensive. They're hitting 4 Council core worlds simultaneously. This is the largest attack they've ever attempted." The tactical display showed the scope of the assault. Thousands of Cathara ships, striking at the heart of Council space. Worlds with populations in the billions all under attack at once. It's a coordinated strike, Sarah said, studying the pattern. They're trying to break the Council completely. All ships maximum speed to the nearest target, Winters ordered. We split the fleet. Group Alpha to Corinthia Prime, Group Beta to Thessar, Group Gamma to New Andros, and Group Delta with the Argo to Haven's Rest. Haven's Rest. The station where Sarah had lived for 200 years, where Veltash had made his home in exile, where thousands of refugees from destroyed worlds had found shelter. The Cathara were attacking her home. The journey to Haven's Rest took 6 hours at maximum speed. Every minute felt like an eternity to Sarah. She stood on the bridge watching the tactical display, willing the ship to go faster. When they finally arrived, the battle was already raging. The Cathara had brought 200 ships. The Council defense fleet was holding them back, but barely. Sarah could see stations burning, ships exploding, and evacuation transports trying desperately to get civilians to safety. All ships, attack formation, Winters ordered. Target their command vessels first. Break their coordination. The Argo and its accompanying fleet crashed into the Cathara formation like a hammer. The battle was chaos, ships weaving through debris and weapons fire, explosions lighting up space like fireworks. Sarah watched the display, trying to track everything at once. Then she saw something that made her blood run cold. A Cathara assault ship was breaking through the defenses, heading straight for the civilian section of Haven's Rest, where the refugee shelters were located. The ship was damaged but still functional, and it would reach the station in less than 3 minutes. Winters, that ship. I see it. Interceptors are moving to engage, but Sarah could see they would not make it in time. The math was simple and cruel. The Cathara ship would reach the station and deploy its boarding drones. Thousands of civilians would die. Without thinking, Sarah ran from the bridge. She knew the Argo had small fighter craft, one-person ships designed for quick strikes. She had watched the pilots train. She had even asked one of them to teach her the basics just out of curiosity. She reached the hangar bay and jumped into the nearest fighter. The cockpit sealed around her and the systems came online. They were more intuitive than she expected, designed for enhanced humans but usable by anyone in an emergency. Dr. Chen, what are you doing? Winter's voice came through the comm system. Something stupid, Sarah said, and launched the fighter into space. The small ship shot out of the hangar like a bullet. Sarah's hands gripped the controls and she aimed straight for the Cathara assault ship. Her fighter was fast, faster than anything the Cathara had, and she reached the enemy vessel before their defensive weapons could track her properly. But she had no plan for what to do next. The Cathara ship loomed in front of her, organic and wrong like a tumor grown in space. It was too large for her weapons to seriously damage. But she remembered something from her time studying alien biology. The Cathara ships were living things, and they had vulnerable points where their organic systems connected. Sarah flew her fighter straight at one of those points, a junction where she could see pulsing matter beneath a thin membrane of tissue. She fired every weapon she had, and at the last second she ejected from the cockpit. The fighter impacted the Cathara ship and exploded. The junction ruptured and atmosphere vented into space. The Cathara ship began to tumble, its guidance systems damaged, no longer on course for the station. Sarah floated in space, waiting for rescue, watching the Cathara ship drift away. Her heart pounded in her chest. She was alive. She had done something that mattered. A Terran rescue ship picked her up within minutes. When Sarah was brought back to the Argo, Winters was waiting in the docking bay. He looked furious and relieved in equal measure. That was the most foolish, reckless, brave thing I've ever seen, he said. Sarah smiled weakly. That's humanity for you. We do stupid things that somehow work. And for the first time, Winters laughed. It was a real laugh, full of genuine emotion and surprise. Other humans in the bay heard it and started laughing too. The sound spread through the ship like a wave. They had remembered how to be imperfect. And in that moment, they had never been more human. The 4 simultaneous attacks on Council Core worlds became known as the Cathara's final gambit. The hive mind had committed most of its forces to a decisive strike, hoping to break the Council's will to resist. Instead, the battle became the turning point of the war. The Terran fleet, fighting across 4 different systems, had proven that the Cathara could be beaten. But the victory came at a terrible cost. The enhanced humans lost 2,000 of their own, and Council forces lost tens of thousands more. Entire ships were consumed by the Cathara, their crews assimilated into the hive. Sarah stood in the Argo's memorial hall, looking at the holographic names of the fallen. 2,000 humans who had existed for only 200 years created to fight a war and now gone. She thought about each one, about the legends they carried, about the lives they never got to live beyond combat. They died well, Veltash said beside her. The old captain moved slowly now, his age finally catching up to him even with the medical technology available. They died, Sarah corrected quietly. There's no well about it. They should have had the chance to be more than soldiers, perhaps, but they chose this path. They knew what they were created for. Sarah turned to face her old friend. Did they? Or was the choice made for them when Archive brought them back? They were born into a war they didn't start, fighting for a world they never knew. Veltash's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. You carry such guilt, Sarah, for surviving, for fighting, for everything that happened. But none of this is your fault, isn't it? I sent that transmission. I called for vengeance, and now thousands are dead because of it. Billions more are alive because of it. The Cathara would not have stopped. They would have consumed the entire galaxy eventually. Your message brought hope when there was none. Sarah wanted to believe him, but the weight of all those deaths across 2 centuries pressed down on her like gravity. Winters found them in the memorial hall an hour later. The Admiral looked different now, less perfect somehow. Sarah's reckless action during the battle had affected him, affected all of them. They had started to embrace their imperfections, their humanity. Sarah, we need to talk about the next step, Winters said. The Cathara are regrouping. Intelligence suggests they're pulling back to their core territory to consolidate their forces. How long do we have? Months, maybe a year. They'll rebuild and come back stronger. We hurt them badly, but we didn't break them. Winters paused. Unless we take the fight to them first. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. You want to attack their homeworld, not just their homeworld. I want to go to Earth. The statement hung in the air like a physical thing. Earth, the dead world, the place where humanity had died and where the Cathara had built their largest breeding complex in this sector of the galaxy. Why Earth? Veltash asked. Because it's symbolic, Winters said. The Cathara took our world and turned it into a monument to their power. If we take it back, we send a message that nothing they do is permanent. Nothing they take is gone forever. And because something is there, Sarah said, understanding dawning. Something you need, Winters nodded. Archive detected quantum signatures during our initial scans of the Sol system. There are sealed facilities on Earth, protected by technology that predates the Cathara invasion. Your research facilities, Dr. Chen, they're still intact. Sarah's heart skipped. My facility? But that's impossible. I watched it burn. The surface burned. But you built your genetic storage in deep underground bunkers, protected by quantum stasis fields. Archive believes those fields are still active. The seed banks, Sarah whispered. The DNA archives. Everything I was working on. All of Earth's biological diversity preserved in stasis. Not just biological, Winters continued. Cultural artifacts too. Art, music, literature stored in physical form. The Cathara couldn't destroy what they couldn't detect through quantum shielding. Sarah felt tears on her cheeks. She had thought everything was lost. Every flower, every tree, every animal, every piece of humanity's culture that had not been digitized. All gone. But there was a chance, however small, that pieces of Earth still existed. How do we get there? Sarah asked. The Cathara have made Earth their fortress. The entire planet is covered in their structures. We bring the entire fleet, Winters said simply. We hit them with everything we have. And we don't stop until Earth is ours again. The Council was less enthusiastic about the plan. Zervix argued that attacking the Cathara's stronghold was suicide, that it would cost too many lives for a symbolic victory. But Sarah spoke to the Council one last time, and her words carried weight they never had before. For 200 years I've watched species die because the Council was too afraid to act. Earth died because you valued laws over lives. But humanity came back. We came back because someone remembered us, because our story mattered enough to fight for. Sarah's hologram stood in the Council chambers, her image projected from the Argo. Every species you've lost to the Cathara deserves the same chance. Earth won't just be a human victory. It will prove that the Cathara can be beaten, that extinct species can be remembered and honored, that nothing is truly gone while someone fights for it. The Council voted. It was close, but they agreed to support the operation. 20 Council fleets would join the Terran forces for the assault on Earth. The combined armada was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. 5 million humans and 3 million Council military personnel, all committed to one battle. The journey to the Sol system took 3 weeks. Sarah spent the time preparing herself for what she would see. Earth had been dead for 200 years. It would not be the blue and green world she remembered. It would be gray and lifeless, covered in Cathara corruption. But when the fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system, even Sarah was not prepared for what she saw. Earth hung in space like a diseased corpse. The Cathara had covered the entire surface with their organic structures. From orbit, the planet looked like a massive hive, pulsing with millions of drones. The atmosphere was gone, stripped away to feed the Cathara growth. The oceans had been consumed, their water broken down into base elements. "That's not Earth," Sarah said, her voice hollow. "That's a shell wearing Earth's face." "Then we remove the shell," Winters said firmly. "All ships, attack formation. Target the Cathara orbital defenses first. Clear a path to the surface." The battle for Earth began with a barrage of fire that would have incinerated most planets. Human and Council ships unleashed every weapon they had at the Cathara fleet defending the system. The hive mind had been expecting an attack and had prepared accordingly. 300 Cathara warships defended Earth, the largest concentration of their forces ever seen in one place. The battle was brutal and chaotic. Ships exploded on both sides. Debris filled the space around Earth, and the void itself seemed to burn with the intensity of the conflict. Sarah watched from the Argos bridge as the fleet slowly pushed forward. The Cathara fought with desperate ferocity, knowing this was their last stand. If they lost Earth, they lost their largest breeding complex and their symbolic victory over humanity. But the combined Human Council fleet had numbers, technology, and determination. Hour by hour, they pushed the Cathara back. The enemy lost ships, then orbital platforms, then control of the space around Earth itself. "We're ready for ground assault," Winters reported after 6 hours of fighting. "But Sarah, I need to warn you. The Cathara have turned your research facility into a command center. It's heavily defended." "Then that's where I'm going," Sarah said. "Absolutely not. It's too dangerous. That facility is mine. I built it, I worked there, I transmitted humanity's last message from there. If anyone is going to reclaim it, it's going to be me." Winters looked like he wanted to argue, but he saw the determination in Sarah's eyes. "Fine. But you're taking a full strike team with you, and you're wearing combat armor." The landing on Earth's surface was like descending into hell. The Cathara had transformed the planet's ecosystem into a massive organic machine, designed solely to produce more drones. Where cities had once stood, there were now flesh factories. Where forests had grown, there were now feeding pits. Sarah's dropship landed near what had once been her research facility in Colorado. The area was barely recognizable. The mountains had been consumed, the valleys filled with Cathara structures. But the facility entrance was still there, now serving as a command node for Cathara operations. The assault team moved through the corruption with weapons ready. They were 50 strong, a mix of enhanced humans and Council special forces. Sarah wore armor that felt too heavy and carried a weapon she barely knew how to use, but she was determined to see this through. They fought through waves of Cathara drones. The creatures came in different forms now, adapted from the hundreds of species they had consumed over the centuries. Sarah saw drones with features from Veltash's people, from the blue-skinned navigators, from species she did not recognize. Each one was a reminder of lives consumed, civilizations erased. The team reached the facility entrance after 2 hours of fighting. The door was sealed beneath layers of Cathara growth. Engineers set charges and blasted through, revealing the corridor beyond. Sarah stepped into her old workplace, and for a moment, she was back in time. The corridor was damaged but recognizable. She had walked this path thousands of times, heading to her lab, to the storage facilities, to the observation deck where she used to look at the stars and dream of finding alien life. "The quantum storage is 3 levels down," Sarah said, leading the way. They descended through the facility, fighting Cathara at every turn. The hive mind knew what they were after and was throwing everything it had to stop them, but the assault team pushed forward, and Sarah moved with a determination that surprised even herself. The storage level was exactly as she remembered. The quantum stasis fields were still active, their blue glow filling the vast chamber. Inside the fields were containers holding seeds from every plant species on Earth, DNA samples from every animal, embryos preserved at the moment of collection. And more than that. There were books, physical books that Sarah had collected over her career. There were hard drives with backups of Earth's digital culture. There were artifacts, pieces of art and history that she had saved, believing they were important enough to preserve. "It's all here," Sarah said, tears streaming down her face. "Everything I saved. It's all still here." Winters stood beside her, looking at the preserved remnants of Earth's life. "Archive, can you integrate this data?" The AI's hologram appeared in the chamber. "Yes. This is remarkable, Dr. Chen. You saved not just genetic information but cultural context. With this, we can truly bring Earth back." "Then do it," Sarah said. "Bring them home." Archive began the process of downloading the information from the quantum storage. As the data transferred, Sarah walked to the observation window at the end of the chamber. Through the thick glass, she could see the ruined surface of Earth, but she could also see the human fleet above fighting to reclaim this world. She could see council ships standing beside them, allies in a war that had once seemed impossible to win. "Sarah, we need to evacuate," Winters said urgently. "The Cathara are converging on this position. We've downloaded the data. We need to leave now." "You go," Sarah said quietly. "I'm staying." "What?" "Sarah, no. I'm 237 years old, Marcus. I've lived longer than any human should, seen things no one else has, carried memories that should have died with Earth. I'm tired." Sarah turned to face him, and her eyes were clear and calm. "But more than that, I need to do this. The Cathara turned my facility into their command center. If I can destroy it, I can cripple their operations on Earth. I can give you the opening you need to cleanse this planet. We can evacuate you and destroy the facility remotely." "No, you can't. The Cathara have integrated their systems too deeply. Someone needs to manually override the quantum reactors, and I'm the only one who knows how. I designed them, Marcus. I can make them go critical." Winter's face showed an emotion Sarah had rarely seen in the enhanced humans. Genuine grief. "Sarah, please. We just got humanity back. We can't lose you now." Sarah smiled and touched his face gently. "You're not losing me. I'll always be with you. Every time you doubt yourself, every time you forget what you're fighting for, remember the last daughter of Terra. Remember that I chose this. I chose to fight for Earth until the very end." She turned to the rest of the team. "Go, get that data to safety. Bring Earth back to life. Make sure my daughter's name is remembered. Maya Chen. She loved to dance and laugh, and she died trying to help others evacuate. Make sure she's not forgotten." The team evacuated, leaving Sarah alone in the facility. She moved through the corridors one last time. Remembering better days, she accessed the quantum reactor controls, systems she had helped design decades before the Cathara came. As she worked, Cathara drones broke through the facility's outer defenses. They poured into the corridors searching for her. But Sarah had one last message to send. She activated the facility's communication array and transmitted on all frequencies, human and Cathara alike. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen, the last daughter of Terra, speaking to the Cathara hive mind. You came to Earth 200 years ago and thought you had erased humanity. You took our world, consumed our people, and believed we were gone forever. The drones were getting closer. Sarah could hear them tearing through the walls. But you were wrong. You taught us what we were truly capable of. You showed us that humanity is not defined by flesh and blood. We are stories and memories, dreams and determination. You tried to kill us, and instead you made us immortal." Sarah initiated the reactor overload sequence. The facility began to shake. "My people are returning. They're going to take back Earth. They're going to stop you from consuming any more worlds. And every time they fight, every time they win, they'll remember what you did here. You wanted to erase us from history. Instead, you made us legends." The drones broke into the reactor chamber. Sarah stood calmly facing them. "You can kill me, but you cannot kill humanity. We refuse to die. We refuse to be forgotten. And we refuse to let you win." Sarah smiled one last time, thinking of Maya, of Earth as it was, of a galaxy that might finally be safe. "Goodbye, universe. Remember us." The reactor went critical. The explosion consumed the entire facility and everything within 100 kilometers. The Cathara command node on Earth was destroyed in an instant, and with it the hive mind's ability to coordinate its forces on the planet. The human and council fleet seized the opportunity. With the Cathara forces in disarray, they pushed forward, landing ground forces across Earth's surface. The battle raged for 3 more days, but the outcome was never in doubt. Earth was reclaimed. In orbit, Archive processed the data Sarah had saved. The AI began the work of creating new humans, but not just the legendary warriors. This time Archive created ordinary people. Teachers, farmers, artists, children, millions of them, based on the genetic diversity Sarah had preserved, and among them one special person. A young woman with Sarah's genetic material, combined with archived data of another individual. Archive created her with great care, making sure she had brown eyes and a love of dancing. Maya Chen was reborn. Over the following years, Earth healed. The Cathara corruption was removed piece by piece. Oceans were restored using water from comets. The atmosphere was rebuilt molecule by molecule. Forests were planted from Sarah's seeds. Animals were cloned from her DNA samples. The planet that had been dead for 2 centuries slowly came back to life. The enhanced humans, those warriors born from legends, found new purposes. Some became explorers, mapping unknown regions of space. Others became teachers, helping young species develop safely. Some became artists, creating works that honored the galaxy's diversity. But all of them remembered Sarah. They built a monument on the site of her research facility, a statue of a woman looking up at the stars with determination and hope. The inscription was simple: Dr. Sarah Chen, the last, the first, the eternal. She kept humanity alive when all else was darkness. She taught us that we are more than what we were made to be. We are what we choose to become. Veltash lived long enough to see Earth bloom again. He stood in a restored forest with tears in his compound eyes, remembering the human he had saved so long ago. "You did it, Sarah," he whispered. "You saved us all." The Cathara were not destroyed completely. The hive mind retreated to the far edges of the galaxy, weakened and scattered. They still posed a threat, but no longer the unstoppable force they had once been. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Extinction was not the end. As long as someone remembered, as long as someone fought for the lost, nothing was truly gone forever. Humanity became full members of the Galactic Council. They brought with them a fierce determination to protect other species, to never let another Earth happen. They became the galaxy's guardians, its protectors, its hope. And on Earth, in a small house near a restored lake, a young woman named Maya danced in her kitchen while making breakfast. She did not know she was a recreation, born from data and memories. To her, she was simply alive, and that was enough. She looked out the window at the blue sky, at the green trees swaying in the wind, at the birds flying past. Earth was home again. Humanity had returned, and somewhere among the stars, Sarah's sacrifice ensured that this peace would be protected. The Terran Reclamation Fleet maintained a presence throughout the galaxy, always ready, always watching. They had stations on 100 worlds, ships patrolling 1,000 systems. They trained new generations of humans in combat and diplomacy, in science and art. Admiral Marcus Winters, now older and bearing the scars of countless battles, stood on the bridge of the Argo and looked at Earth through the view screen. The planet was beautiful again, a jewel of blue and green hanging in the darkness of space. She would have loved to see this, Winters said quietly. Beside him stood Maya, now grown and serving as the Argo's cultural liaison. She had learned about the woman she was created from, the original Maya who had died in the Cathara invasion. She had also learned about Sarah, the woman who had saved her genetic pattern and made this second chance possible. She did see it, Maya said, in her mind, in her dreams, in her determination. Every tree we planted, every ocean we filled, every life we brought back, she saw it all. She had faith it would happen. Faith is a powerful thing, Winters agreed. So is memory, Maya added. That's what makes us human, isn't it? We remember. We honor those who came before. We carry their stories forward. A young officer approached, one of the new generation born on restored Earth. Admiral, we're receiving a distress call from the Outer Rim. A pre-contact civilization is under attack by raiders. Winters straightened, his eyes hardening with purpose. Prepare the fleet. We're going to help them. Sir, the Council protocols state we should wait for authorization before intervening with pre-contact species. Winters looked at the officer, then at Maya, then back at Earth. He thought of Sarah, of Veltash, of every being who had broken rules because it was the right thing to do. Sometimes the rules need to be broken, Winters said, Someone once saved a single human when the rules said to let them die. That choice changed the galaxy. We're going to honor that legacy. The Argo and its fleet turned away from Earth and jumped to faster-than-light speed, racing toward beings in need. Behind them, Earth continued to heal, continued to grow, continued to be home to humanity once again. In the council chambers, a new addition stood beside the seats of hundreds of species. It was a simple pedestal with a blue marble on it representing Earth. Below it, a plaque read, "In memory of the 7.9 billion souls lost when Earth fell, and in honor of the one who kept their memory alive. May we never forget that every life matters. Every species deserves protection and every voice deserves to be heard." The last daughter of Terra taught us that the greatest strength is not in our weapons or our laws, but in our refusal to give up on each other. Across the galaxy, the story of Earth's fall and resurrection became legend. Young species learned about the humans who refused to die, about the last daughter who fought alone for 2 centuries, about the army born from legends that reclaimed their world. The Cathara became a cautionary tale, a reminder of what happens when hunger becomes all-consuming, when individuality is sacrificed for collective power. Some hive fragments remained, isolated and weakened, but they never again threatened the galaxy as they once had. Humanity expanded carefully, colonizing new worlds but never forgetting what it meant to lose their home. They built monuments on every human world, statues of Sarah looking to the stars, ensuring that no generation would forget the cost of their existence. And sometimes, on quiet nights, enhanced humans would gather and tell stories, not legends of great warriors or brilliant scientists, but stories of ordinary Earth, stories of people who loved and laughed, who made mistakes and learned from them, who danced in kitchens and forgot where they parked their cars. They told these stories to remember that beneath all the enhancements, beneath all the legendary patterns they carried, they were still human. Imperfect, chaotic, beautiful, and alive. On Earth, children played in parks that had not existed for 2 centuries. They climbed trees grown from seeds Sarah had saved. They studied from books she had preserved. They learned about their history, about the fall and the resurrection, about the woman who had refused to let them be forgotten. One child, a boy named Alex with bright, curious eyes, asked his teacher a question. If we all died once, could we die again? The teacher, an enhanced human who carried the wisdom of a dozen philosophers, knelt down to the child's level. Yes, we could. Death is always possible. But so is life, so is hope, so is the refusal to surrender even when everything seems lost. So what do? The child asked. We remember. We honor those who came before. We protect those who need help. We stay human no matter what challenges we face. And we never ever give up. The child nodded, satisfied with the answer, and ran off to play. The teacher watched him go and smiled. Sarah would have liked that answer. Far above Earth, Archive floated in orbit, a being of light and data, watching over the world it had helped restore. The AI did not experience emotions the way organic beings did. But if it could feel pride, it would have felt it now. It had preserved countless extinct species over millions of years, storing their information, keeping their memories alive. But it had never brought any of them back until humanity. Sarah's transmission had moved Archive in ways it could not fully explain. Perhaps it was humanity's stories, their myths of heroes who fell and rose again. Perhaps it was their stubborn refusal to accept extinction as an ending. Perhaps it was simply that Sarah had asked so beautifully for someone to remember. Whatever the reason, Archive had answered. And in doing so, it had changed the galaxy forever. Thank you, Dr. Chen. Archive transmitted on a frequency only it could hear. You taught me that existence is not just about surviving. It is about being remembered. It is about the stories we leave behind. The transmission went into the void, toward the expanding edge of the universe, toward infinity, and somewhere in that vastness, perhaps Sarah's spirit heard it and smiled. Humanity had died. Humanity had returned. And humanity would endure. Not because they were perfect, not because they were invincible, but because they refused to be forgotten. They saved a single human, and that human ensured humanity would never truly die. Her sacrifice had brought an army born of legends, warriors and dreamers and ordinary people, all committed to protecting the galaxy from the darkness. Earth was home again. The stars were full of human voices, and the last daughter of Terra had become eternal. Her story told on 1,000 worlds, her memory living in every human heart. The war was won. The dead were honored. The future was bright. And somewhere in the cosmos, in the space between stars, Sarah Chen's final transmission continued to travel outward, carrying humanity's message to regions yet unexplored. We are humanity. We create, we love, we fight, we dream. We fall, but we rise again. We die, but we are never forgotten. Remember us, honor us, and if you face darkness, know that we faced it too and emerged victorious. You are not alone. You will never be alone. The message traveled on, a beacon of hope in the infinite dark, ensuring that humanity's story would reach corners of the universe not yet imagined. And that was the greatest victory of all.